Many people dream about moving to Japan from abroad, or maybe even retiring there, but we often run into a problem with the bureaucracy. You hear the same thing, like you need a work visa, you can't rent an apartment without a residence card, you need $2 million invested to sustain yourself, or that moving to a new country after 65 seems stressful. But if you're part of the FIRE community, FIRE standing for Financial Independence Retire Early, you know that retirement doesn't have to be something to aim for in your 60s. And if we plan properly, we have the chance to have a very fulfilling, if maybe a little unorthodox, form of early retirement in Japan. Today, I'm introducing you to the Japan FIRE Half-Life. It takes advantage of Japan's 180-day temporary visitor status to give you a semi-permanent life in Japan with zero visa paperwork, zero Japanese tax liability, and a housing setup that is 100% plug-and-play. We are going to look at the exact 180-day legal loophole, the specific 2026 cost of monthly mansions, and the investment portfolio math required to fund this. This isn't just a vacation, it's a blueprint for a split-life retirement. Let's dig into the details of the law. Most G7 passports get a 90-day temporary visitor stamp upon arrival. The strategy is simple. You stay 90 days, you leave for a week or a weekend to explore somewhere like Taiwan or Korea, and then you come back for another 90 days. Now, the first question that comes to mind is, can I do this forever? Technically, Japanese immigration looks at a rolling 12-month window. The general rule of thumb is that you should not spend more than 180 days in Japan per year as a tourist. If you try to stay 200 days, you start looking like a resident who is dodging taxes. But if you stay 180 days, you are, by definition, a temporary visitor. This is where the half-life becomes a financial benefit. Under the 180-day rule, if you spend more than half the year in Japan, you are a tax resident. By staying under that 180-day limit, you remain a non-resident. You don't have to file a Japanese tax return, you don't have to report your brokerage accounts to the Japanese government. Your money stays in your home system, protected by your home country's tax treaties. You are enjoying Japanese infrastructure, safety, and food, while your wealth stays in a tax-efficient bubble in your home country. Coming from an American perspective, this results in a very beneficial financial situation when staying within Japan. One detail to pay attention to is that while the total number of days you can spend in Japan is 180 within any 12-month period, the temporary visitor status only lasts 90 days at a time. The stamp in your passport when you arrive shows that it expires after 90 days. So the best case would be staying in Japan for 90 days, leaving for a few days or a week, and then coming back for another 90-day status. You could return to your home country or even visit a country near Japan for a bit, perhaps South Korea for example. I've done this in the past with no issues. Just please keep in mind the 180 total day limit. Let's talk about the biggest hurdle. Where do you live? In Japan, renting an apartment is a well-known nightmare for foreigners. You usually need a 2-year lease, a Japanese guarantor, and then there are additional fees such as key money, which is a non-refundable gift to the landlord. And that is all before you even start to look at furnishing your apartment and setting up your utilities and internet. For a FIRE retiree spending only half the year in Japan at a time, that is not an efficient approach to housing. Instead, we use short-term furnished rentals, or monthly mansions. Because they are designed for mid-term stays, they bypass the visa requirements. You can often book them with a credit card as well, so no bank account, no phone number, and no residence card required. It also allows you to easily try a different neighborhood every time you come to the country if you want. Prices can vary wildly depending on location and size. There are many companies, but a well-known one is Hamlet, so let's check their site for a 6-month rental from November 2026 to April 2027. Here's a nice-looking 1-bedroom apartment in Koenji, a nice neighborhood just a couple stops west of Shinjuku. I actually just saw Google Search AI refer to it as the Brooklyn of Tokyo while looking up apartments, and that isn't totally inaccurate. It's an artsy neighborhood with a vintage feel to it, and it is very close to the action of Shinjuku. Many monthly mansion sites are similar to something like Airbnb and will include service and cleaning fees, so be sure to take those into consideration. They often also allow you to pay in a lump sum or in monthly payments. Lump sum is usually cheaper, but obviously that could be a lot of money to pay up front, so let's assume monthly payments and then divide the fees across 6 months to get about 200,000 yen or around $1,300 a month. Speaking of Airbnb, something like that is an option as well. I tend to prefer monthly mansions since in general they can be slightly cheaper and the buildings are usually nicer, but you may get lucky and find a great deal on Airbnb, so it is always worth a look. To be clear, this will seem more expensive than a normal rental. However, if you take into consideration that you would only be in the apartment for half the year and it already comes furnished, then the higher price is somewhat offset by the convenience. Let's look at the hard math for your FIRE portfolio. To fund the Japan half of your life, we need to consider monthly costs. As discussed earlier, we will go for a simple one-bedroom apartment for $1,300 a month. For 6 months, that puts us at $7,800 a year. A fancier place, or one in an even more central neighborhood, will cost more, so please check the price of the one you are comfortable with to find the price you would need to work with. Food is generally pretty cheap in Japan compared to America. Grocery shopping and even daily 7-Eleven runs don't add up as fast as you might expect. I am a vegetarian and I don't find myself spending more than $20 a day on average on food, even on days that I eat out. You will be trying to enjoy Japan while you are here, of course, so we need to account for things like transport, museums, and other hobbies. With all of that in mind, I tend to find myself hovering between $1,000 to $1,500 a month spent on my lifestyle in Japan. Again, this can vary greatly between people, so if you have some more expensive tastes, then be sure to factor that into your calculations. This may not be needed for everyone, but if you are spending months in a foreign country, then having health insurance might be nice at some point. There are some companies that specialize in it, and it can be as low as $60 a month. Some nicer travel-based credit cards often offer travel protection as well, so maybe check your credit card benefits. In my experience, you are looking between $1,000 to $1,500 for a round-trip flight from the US to Tokyo these days, notwithstanding any unfavorable world events that might be driving the costs up, of course. You also need to consider the flight you need to take at the 90-day mark to another country to refresh your temporary visitor status. A flight to South Korea can be a couple $100s, but I'll assume $500 here in case you want to try a different country nearby. When I first tried this half-life method a few years ago, I did the trip to Seoul to refresh my status, and it didn't feel like a chore. It felt like a vacation from my vacation. It's a 2-hour flight, the food is incredible, and it's a great way to break up the 6-month stint. I was only there for a weekend, and I was back to Japan before I knew it. That would put our rough total for the Japan half of your year to just under $18,000. For this video, I am only concerned with the money needed to cover the Japanese half of your year. The other 6 months are up to you on how to spend them, but for now, let's see how much you need to invest to sustain your Japanese FIRE half-life. At a 4% withdrawal rate, you need $450,000 to sustain your investments. If you want to be bulletproof against the yen getting stronger, say back to 110 or 120 yen per dollar, you could aim for a 3% rate, which is about $600,000 in your portfolio. So if you have $450,000 in a diversified brokerage account, you can technically pull out $18,000 every year to fund your half-life, as long as the rest of your year doesn't drain the balance below that level. This is a challenge, but likely within the realm of possibility for some people that can plan their finances early on in their career. Speaking as someone in my 30s, it is not an impossible goal to achieve. The beauty of the half-life is that you are always in the honeymoon phase. You avoid the burnout of being a full-time expat. You are a perpetual guest in one of the world's most fascinating countries. You can be welcomed with autumn colors, enjoy the winter illumination, experience the cherry blossoms, and then leave the country before it gets unbearably hot. This is the blueprint. No embassies, no work visas, just clean, efficient FIRE in a way that gives you a chance to enjoy Japan in a long-term way. I hope you found this informative. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for more Japan retirement info, or for more Japanese content in general. I'm still trying to find a good niche for the channel, so I'd love to hear what you'd like to see in a video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.